What if the woman you're talking to is more attracted to you than she's willing to admit? She may never directly say, "I'm extremely attracted to you." In fact, many people communicate attraction indirectly, through attention, body language, curiosity, and the subtle ways they behave when they're around someone they genuinely like. But here's the important part: one smile doesn't prove attraction. One text doesn't prove attraction. One moment of eye contact doesn't prove anything by itself. What matters is the pattern. When several behaviors consistently appear together, they can give you a much clearer picture of what someone may be feeling. And today, we're going deeper than the obvious signs. Because attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest changes in behavior. Imagine you're talking to a woman named Emma. You've known each other for a while, and something about her behavior has started to feel different. She seems more engaged when you're around. She remembers small details you mentioned weeks ago. She finds reasons to continue conversations even after the original topic is finished. Sometimes you catch her looking at you, and when your eyes meet, she smiles or looks away. Does that mean she's extremely attracted to you? Maybe. But it could also mean she simply feels comfortable around you or enjoys your company. And that's why context matters. The first major sign isn't simply that she looks at you. It's that she repeatedly seeks your attention. Think about the difference. You walk into a room, and she notices you. That's normal. But then she finds a reason to start a conversation. Later, she comes back and continues talking. The next day, she sends you something related to a conversation you had. A few days later, she asks about something happening in your life. Now you're seeing a pattern. She's not just reacting to your presence. She's participating in the connection. That distinction is important. Attraction often creates curiosity. When someone becomes interested in you, they may want to learn more about you. They may ask questions about your interests, your plans, your experiences, your opinions, or even small details about your daily life. But genuine curiosity looks different from polite conversation. Imagine you tell a woman that you have been learning to play guitar. Someone who is simply being polite might say, "That's cool." Then the conversation moves on. A woman who is genuinely curious might ask, "What kind of music do you play?" Later, she might remember the name of a song you mentioned. Then she might ask, "Did you ever learn that song?" That's a stronger signal. Not proof of attraction, but evidence of attention. And attention is one of the most valuable currencies in human connection. Here's where things get interesting. When someone is attracted to you, they may sometimes become more aware of how they appear around you. You might notice small changes. She adjusts her hair. She checks her appearance. She becomes slightly more animated. Her posture changes. She smiles more. She seems unusually aware of where you are in the room. But be careful. Body language is highly contextual. People touch their hair when they're nervous. They smile because they're friendly. They adjust their clothes because they're uncomfortable. They make eye contact because they're listening. So don't turn one gesture into a psychological diagnosis. Instead, look for clusters of behavior. If she repeatedly seeks proximity, maintains comfortable eye contact, engages in conversation, remembers details, and consistently initiates contact, the overall pattern becomes more meaningful. Now imagine you're at a social gathering. There are 10 people in the room. You notice that she frequently ends up standing near you. When the group laughs, she looks in your direction. When you tell a story, she pays attention. When you leave the room, she later asks where you went. None of those behaviors alone proves romantic attraction. But together, they suggest that you're occupying a meaningful amount of her attention. And that's something worth noticing. The second sign can be even more revealing. She makes an effort to create opportunities for connection. Attraction doesn't always announce itself through dramatic flirting. Sometimes it appears through effort. She may find reasons to talk to you. She may suggest doing something together. She may respond to your messages with more than one-word answers. She may continue conversations instead of constantly letting them die. She may occasionally initiate contact rather than leaving all the effort to you. This is important because mutual investment is much more informative than passive responsiveness. Suppose you always message first. You always ask questions. You always suggest meeting. She responds politely but rarely initiates anything. You might want to believe she's secretly extremely attracted to you. But there's not enough evidence for that conclusion. Now imagine the opposite. You message her, and she engages. Then a few days later, she starts the conversation herself. She suggests getting coffee. She remembers that you were stressed about something and asks how it went. She sends you something because it reminded her of you. That's different. She's contributing. And when interest is mutual, effort often becomes more balanced over time. Not perfectly balanced every day. Life isn't a spreadsheet. But there is usually some sense that both people are moving toward each other. And this is where many people make the wrong assumption. They think attraction is proven by how intensely someone reacts. But sometimes the more meaningful sign is consistency. A woman who genuinely likes you doesn't necessarily act dramatically every time she sees you. She may be shy. She may be cautious. She may have had bad experiences in previous relationships. She may simply have a calm personality. So instead of looking for dramatic reactions, pay attention to repeated behavior. Does she consistently make room for you? Does she remember things about you? Does she initiate sometimes? Does she seem comfortable being herself around you? Does she show genuine interest in your life? Those patterns are more reliable than a single dramatic moment. Now let's talk about a third sign. She becomes more comfortable showing vulnerability. This one is deeper. Attraction isn't only about physical excitement. When someone begins to trust you, they may gradually reveal more personal parts of themselves. Maybe she tells you about something she's worried about. Maybe she talks about a difficult experience. Maybe she shares an embarrassing story. Maybe she tells you about a dream she hasn't told many people. That doesn't automatically mean romantic attraction. People can be vulnerable with friends too. But when vulnerability appears alongside other signs of attraction, it can indicate growing emotional closeness. Imagine a woman who normally appears extremely confident. Around everyone else, she's energetic and composed. But when she's with you, she admits, "I actually get nervous before important meetings." You respond without making fun of her. You listen. She feels accepted. That moment may strengthen trust. And trust can create the foundation for deeper attraction. But don't make the mistake of thinking vulnerability is an invitation to exploit someone's emotions. If she shares something personal, don't immediately turn it into a flirting opportunity. Listen. Respect the information. Let her know she can trust you with it. A mature man doesn't use vulnerability as leverage. He treats it as something valuable that has been entrusted to him. And that brings us to another sign that can be surprisingly powerful. She seems comfortable being playful and unfiltered around you. Think about the difference between someone's public personality and the person they become when they feel comfortable. Maybe she jokes more. Maybe she teases you. Maybe she makes ridiculous faces. Maybe she tells you stories that make her look silly. Maybe she laughs loudly without worrying about appearing perfect. That can be a sign that she feels psychologically safe around you. And psychological safety can support attraction because people don't have to spend all their energy managing how they appear. They can simply interact. Imagine a woman who is normally very serious at work. But around you, she becomes playful. She gives you a funny nickname. She sends you ridiculous memes. She remembers an inside joke from weeks ago. She teases you about something harmless. Those behaviors can indicate comfort and connection. But again, don't assume every playful woman is flirting. Some people are naturally playful with everyone. The question is whether her behavior toward you is noticeably different from how she treats others. That comparison can provide useful context. And now pay attention to the fourth sign. She may start mirroring your energy or behavior. Mirroring is a natural human phenomenon in which people sometimes unconsciously match aspects of another person's posture, tone, expressions, or conversational rhythm. But don't turn this into a body language game. If you cross your arms and she crosses hers, that doesn't mean she's secretly in love with you. The human brain is much more complicated than that. Instead, Look for broader patterns. Maybe your conversations naturally become slower when you're talking seriously. She matches your level of enthusiasm when you're excited. You laugh, and she becomes more expressive. You lower your voice, and she responds in a similar tone. These subtle forms of synchrony can sometimes happen when people feel connected and engaged. But once again, context matters. The most useful question isn't, did she copy my movement? It's, does there seem to be a comfortable rhythm between us? Do conversations flow naturally? Does she respond to your emotional tone? Does she seem engaged rather than simply waiting for the conversation to end? That is much more informative. And now we reach the fifth sign, which may be the most important of all. She creates emotional and physical closeness while respecting boundaries. This is where healthy attraction becomes different from fantasy. A woman who is attracted to you may sometimes find reasons to be closer. She may sit near you. She may maintain eye contact. She may initiate a hug. She may lightly touch your arm during conversation. She may be comfortable with affectionate gestures when the relationship has reached that level. But healthy attraction doesn't mean ignoring boundaries. A woman can be attracted to you and still want to move slowly. She can like you and still say no to physical contact. She can enjoy flirting without wanting a relationship. She can want a relationship without being ready for intimacy. That's why respecting boundaries is essential. If she pulls away, you give her space. If she says no, you accept it. If you're unsure, you communicate. And ironically, this is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity on your side. You don't need to interpret every physical signal as permission. You don't need to test boundaries. You don't need to push the moment further. You allow mutual interest to develop naturally. Now imagine you're sitting with a woman you've been dating. She moves slightly closer. You make eye contact. She smiles. You lean in slowly. She reciprocates. That is a mutual moment. But suppose she becomes uncomfortable or pulls away. You stop. No guilt. No pressure. No dramatic reaction. You simply respect the boundary. That response communicates something important about your character. And character matters far more than any dating trick. Here's another detail many people overlook. Attraction can sometimes make people nervous. A woman who is extremely attracted to you may not become more confident around you. She might actually become more awkward. She might look away. She might laugh nervously. She might struggle to maintain eye contact. She might become unusually quiet. Or she might talk more than usual. That's why attraction can't always be identified through one stereotypical behavior. Some people move closer when they're attracted. Others become shy. Some flirt directly. Others communicate interest through small acts of attention. Personality matters. So don't ask, does she behave like women in dating videos? Ask, has her behavior changed specifically around me, and does that change consistently suggest greater interest? That question is much more useful. Now let's talk about mixed signals. This is where people often get emotionally trapped. A woman may flirt with you one day and seem distant the next. She may enjoy talking to you but avoid making plans. She may respond warmly but never initiate. What does that mean? It could mean she's interested but uncertain. It could mean she's busy. It could mean she's emotionally unavailable. It could mean she enjoys your attention but doesn't want a relationship. It could mean something completely unrelated to you. You cannot reliably know from behavior alone. That's why communication eventually becomes necessary. If you want to know whether someone is interested, don't spend months trying to decode every tiny gesture. At an appropriate point, be direct. You can say, I've enjoyed spending time with you. I'd like to take you out sometime. Her response gives you far more useful information than analyzing whether she looked at your lips for half a second. That's confidence. Not certainty. Confidence means being willing to discover the answer. And if the answer is no, you accept it. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you received information. Now here's the bigger psychological lesson behind all 5 signs. Attraction isn't one behavior. It's a pattern of attention, effort, curiosity, comfort, emotional openness, and mutual engagement. When someone repeatedly chooses to spend time with you, remembers details, initiates contact, becomes more open, creates opportunities for closeness, and consistently engages with you, there may be genuine attraction developing. But no sign guarantees romantic interest. Not eye contact. Not smiling. Not texting. Not touching. Not teasing. Not nervousness. The strongest evidence comes from clear communication and consistent mutual effort. And that should actually make dating easier. Because you don't have to become a detective. You don't have to obsess over every message. You don't have to search for secret female psychology hacks. You can observe the overall pattern and communicate honestly. If she likes you, give her space to show it. If she is uncertain, allow the relationship to develop without pressure. If she doesn't reciprocate, respect her answer. And throughout all of it, keep your self-respect. Don't make someone else's attraction the measurement of your worth. You can be confident, kind, interesting, emotionally intelligent, and genuinely attractive, and someone can still decide you're not their type. That's not failure. That's compatibility. And when you understand that, dating becomes much healthier. You stop trying to convince people to choose you. You start looking for people who naturally want to meet you halfway. So if you're wondering whether a woman may be extremely attracted to you, look beyond the obvious. Notice whether she repeatedly seeks your attention. Notice whether she invests in conversations and creates opportunities to connect. Notice whether she becomes more emotionally open with you. Notice whether there is a natural rhythm and comfort between you. And most importantly, notice whether the interest is mutual, consistent, and respectful. Because attraction isn't proven by one dramatic moment. It's revealed through patterns. And the healthiest romantic connection isn't the one where you're constantly wondering, does she like me? It's the one where both people gradually make it clear through their words, actions, effort, and choices. You don't need to manipulate attraction. You don't need to create jealousy. You don't need to play hard to get games. You simply need to become attentive enough to recognize genuine interest and confident enough to communicate your own. Because the real goal isn't to make someone extremely attracted to you. It's to build a connection where attraction, respect, trust, and mutual choice can grow together. And if she truly wants to be closer to you, you won't have to force every step. You'll notice her moving toward you too. If you enjoyed this perspective, like the video, subscribe for more relationship psychology and practical dating advice, and share your experience in the comments. What is the clearest sign you've ever noticed that someone was genuinely attracted to you?